FPL D unit here with my buy, trade, sell, hold version for game week 11 of the top transfers in and the top transfers out, and giving you the tips that you need, hopefully, to create your teams. Now, a lot of you are probably not going to be thinking about wildcarding this week, but if you are, make sure you check out the video I released yesterday. It's got a great wildcard draft that is aimed at week 12 and onwards, which is when I'm going to be playing it at this present point in time. Now, I'm pre-recording this before the Brentford and Fulham game's taken on, because currently, when this gets released, I'm sitting in Singapore, hopefully having a Singaporean sling. So feel for me there. I'm having a hard time of it. But look, let's get into it and see what we've got this particular game week. Now, the transfers in surprised me quite a bit this week. So the top 5 transfers in, 2 of them are Nottingham Forest players, and Nottingham Forest don't have the easiest run of fixtures coming up. So I'm surprised by that statistic. I don't know if people are looking that far in advance, but for me, they've got Newcastle at home this week, and they've got Ipswich in game week 13. But other than that, as we'll look at very shortly, I don't understand why people are jumping so much on board. I feel like the Aina one, they saw 15 points from a defender and thought, holy hell, no one's keeping a clean sheet. We need the bloke that's getting 15 points. Well, you can't keep chasing points. It does come back to bite you, and I'm not sure. He is a good option because Nottingham Forest have good underlying defensive numbers, but they've got a harder run of fixtures coming up, and they have had a relatively soft start to the season. With the transfers out, it's no surprise that Erling Haaland is at the top of that list. Lots of people dumping him. He is going to be under 70% ownership by the time game week 11 rolls around. He might even be closer to 65%. It is amazing how many people are jumping off. Basically because of the fact that, he is blank now for the last 5 weeks, which is just insane. But on a caveat to that, Kevin De Bruyne was back in the squad in this last game week. And if he's back in the team very shortly, Erling Haaland will be back in the goals, because Kevin De Bruyne puts on a plate for him, and it makes it almost impossible for Haaland not to score. So just keep that in mind when you are making that transfer this particular game week. So let's have a look at the top ones in. So Chris Woody, the Woodpecker, the Wood, as I said, and Aina, they've both risen in price already this game week. So Chris Wood's up to 6.5%. He's up to 20.2% ownership. But if you look at the fixtures, I know he scored 8 goals in 10 games, and he looks absolutely amazing. And he's in my team, so I'm a little bit biased here. But I think he's a hold. I'm even contemplating selling him in game week 12 on our wild card, because I just don't think he can keep this numbers up. He's way outperforming his XG involvement per game. I think he's almost doubled it for the season, which is insane. But he is the main man, and he's getting the minutes, and he's on penalties at the moment while Morgan Gibbs-White is out. So realistically, he could be a hold. I just don't know how many goals he's going to score. He's still going to get you goals. I just don't think he's going to get the same frequency as we've seen over the opening 10 games in the next 10 games, if that makes sense. I mean, there's only 3 green fixtures on there in the next 10 games. Just keep that in mind, all right? Aina, as I said, I think you're just chasing the points. Mo Salah, I'm not surprised. He has just been the model of consistency, and he just eats these bonus points alive. Every time he scores, he's getting 2 or 3 bonus points. He got 2 again on the weekend. This man just keeps getting bonus points. He's definitely, if you are picking between Mo Salah and Erling Haaland, you need Mo Salah. He is the one that's delivering more frequently. He's only blanked twice all season. That was against Crystal Palace when they lost somehow. No, they won. No, they lost. No, they won. My bad. They lost to Nottingham Forest. My bad. I knew there was 1-0 games in there. Yeah. So look, what is there not to like about this man? He is the Egyptian king for a reason. So get him in. And Buemo, he just continues to go up in price. He's up to 41.2% ownership. He hasn't even played this game week yet, and people are still racking him in the transfers. As not a surprise, considering he's still only 7.8, he's still relatively cheap compared to the other premium midfielders, and I think you can't go without him. Isaac is a player I really love, and I would recommend people do buy him. The Newcastle run looks really good coming up, and if he's fit and he's firing, he's Newcastle's main man. He's on penalties as well, so there's nothing not to like there. Callum Wilson's nowhere near the team. Apparently he's had another setback in training as well. So, he's 13.5% ownership, but I really like that. People bringing him in, looking at that run going forward. I don't know how well they'll go against Nottingham Forest this week, but after that, I think they'll go pretty well. Now, Gw11 is probably the best defender that's actually cost money to pay up for. The only reason why I wouldn't buy a City player at the moment is because they're struggling with injuries. Pep Roulette is a real thing, and their upcoming fixture run is not the easiest. So Brighton away, Spurs home, Liverpool away, Nottingham Forest home are not good fixtures for City in general. There's no green in there, and I just don't know. I don't think City are going to keep clean sheets in any of those games, which means that Gw11 has to keep up these attacking returns, and I just can't see him doing it the next 3 weeks. Having said that, he did really well at the end of last season, so there's no reason why he can't, but I just don't believe City are playing well enough for that to continue at the moment. Dominic Solanke, a massive one-hit punt. He is my transfer for this game week. Dominic Solanke came in for Ollie Watkins as my one-week punt before our wild card. What is there not to like? Ipswich at home this week. He's going to be my captain. It's either him or Cunha, one of the two. It just depends on who it falls on Saturday morning when I do the thing or whatever. But look, he looks amazing. I think it's going to be a really good shout for him being captain this week against Ipswich, especially off the back of that monster haul at home against Villa. And Villa are a good team. So Dominic Solanke, I definitely tick that one off this week. Semenya as well. I know he's on 4 yellow cards, and that's a caveat. 8 Nori's also in this category, who's also risen in price. Semenya will definitely rise in price. He's up to 8.1% ownership again. And there's a reason why. Bournemouth's run from here it just looks juicy. So there's every reason to jump on board, and I quite like it moving forward. Danny Welbeck, you could go a week early. People worried because, he might have his minutes impacted by the return of João Pedro. And obviously Evan Ferguson is also there as well. And he is getting on Danny Welbeck. But, I think you hold him from against Man City. I don't think you buy him this week, and then you assess to see how many minutes he gets, how the other players develop over the international break, and then work out whether you want him from game week 12 for wildcard. I think that's definitely the correct play here. I wouldn't be jumping too early just because of the fact that João Pedro is 5.4 million, and he could be really good if he's fit and available. Cunha and 8 Nori, they speak for themselves. Cunha looked amazing against Crystal Palace. He could have had so many more points than he did. 8 Nori is probably the best attacking defensive defender at the moment that's under 5 mil. So I think you just got to have him. Saka, I can see why people are buying him. They're probably going early, trying to get ahead of the game week 12 when, the fixture run really opens up for Arsenal. That's definitely when I'm looking to bring him in. He will be in my team 100% during game week 12. So I understand that, and I think that's a good buy. Long-term fixtures are there. I love it. Garnacho, I'm not sure. I feel like the next 3 weeks for Man United, they've got some really good chances, but I prefer Bruno Fernandes over Garnacho. I know he costs an extra 2 million, extra 1.9 actually, for people that are going to correct me, 1.9, but I'm not sure. I feel like Bruno Fernandes is the pick. I said that in my differential video earlier in the week. Check that out if you haven't already. Sells as a goalkeeper, he's just cheap. And Nottingham Forest have been keeping clean sheets. So that makes him quite a valuable asset. He's up to 6.1% ownership. And who would have thought that Sells would be the goalkeeper that you'd be targeting at the start of the season? I certainly didn't, that's for sure. Virgil van Dijk, he's probably the safest Liverpool option at the moment that doesn't cost a fortune like Trent. Johnson, I'm surprised it's a bit knee-jerky, that one. Spurs fixture run for the foreseeable future is not the best. They're hit and miss. They've got some nice ones followed by hard ones in between. I'm just not sure that 6.7 is really worth it. Particularly now that you've missed out on some of those earlier games where he was scoring. Cole Palmer, he's definitely got to be a buy. I'm surprised not more people are buying him. He should be up to 60% by the time game week 12 rolls around, because Leicester away, I dare say, he will be captain for me in game week 12 and game week 14 when they also travel to Southampton. He looks amazing, as do most of the Chelsea assets. Strand Larsen there, fantastic budget option. Dalot and Fernandes, as you can see there, the Man United boys are in there. Not a surprise. I think the new manager bounce is going to help out. Amarin probably is going to play Mazraoui, Dalot as wing-backs, potentially, and Bruno Fernandes, like the Portuguese connection there. You've got to take that into account. I'm surprised Gordon's not higher up on the list. He has looked really good, and Newcastle's run definitely does turn now, so he could definitely be an option. He's dropped 0.3 million from his starting price at the start of the season as well. So, if he keeps going and he scores again returns again like he did on the weekend with the assist, he will be in people's teams before you know it. Kirkes as well, I really like him as a buy. Bournemouth defenders in general, I think they'll start keeping some clean sheets with this easier run of fixtures, and I think there's some money to be made there and some points as well. So I really like that as a buy as well. And any Tottenham player this week feels good. There's a reason why Tottenham players are in there. They've got Ipswich at home, and I think that's going to be really important moving out. Now, look, moving on to the transfers out. Erling Haaland, as I said, he was a sell for me last week. I jumped off early, and I reaped the rewards because I have Mo Salah obviously captain for me instead of Erling Haaland. However, I think with Kevin De Bruyne back in the squad, there is a reason to hold him and see how that impacts on him, but like it is a lot of money invested in your squad, in Erling Haaland. If he's not delivering, it could be money better spent. So on that recommendation, for me, it is still a sell at this particular point in time. However, he might become a buy again very shortly. Luis Diaz, definite sell. I don't know what's going on there. It looks like Cody Gakpo is definitely getting the nod more often than not in the Premier League of late. That's 3 of the last 4 he has started on the bench, and the other game he only lasted 62 minutes. So I think the writing's on the wall. He rose in price super quick. He's now dropping in price super quick. So if I was you, I'd want to maximize the value you had in him. Probably jump off before he keeps dropping. Van de Ven, not a surprise. He's going to be out till after the international break. He's a good sell. Ollie Watkins is a good sell as well, I think. Obviously, I sold him this week. I want him back eventually, but the next couple of weeks aren't fabulous. Chelsea away and Liverpool away. I don't know how many points he's going to get there. And then in 17 and 18, he's got Man City and Newcastle. But I think after that, you can probably look to invest in him once again. I think there's just better options at the price point, and I think that that's probably counting against him at the moment. Kai Havertz, I'm surprised that he is dropping so much, but Arsenal's run really opens up after this, and if Odegaard's back to being anywhere near full fitness and into the squad, Kai Havertz becomes a much more realistic option because he is going to get you points with the service that is on being given to him from around him. Eze, again, he's out to the international break. Canade's a wait and see at this particular point in time. If you've got him, I'd be holding him. I wouldn't be worrying too much about. I would even consider buying him. It is just a matter of waiting to see what that injury's like later in the game week. Check out the Friday night press conferences. Obviously, Liverpool playing the Champions League as well, so we should know a little bit more by then. Dwight McNeil's in my team, and look, if I wasn't wildcarding next week, here's the obvious transfer from him to Saka. He's got 1 week left in the team. He will be starting for me. West Ham away, surely he's got to get me something. He's only got me 1 assist in the time I've had him. So, he has made me some money, so it's not all doom and gloom. But, yeah. Nicholas Jackson, I'm not surprised people are selling him. He is on 4 yellow cards. He is definitely going to miss a game between now and game week 19 because this bloke just gets yellow cards, which is not helpful for him. But hopefully it's not versus Leicester or Southampton that he misses because you really want him. I actually surprised that so many people are selling him. Chelsea's run's amazing after this week, and maybe people are just balking at the fact that he's got Arsenal this week and he's on 4 yellow cards. I'm not sure, but I really like him, and he's definitely a player I'm thinking about buying. I understand why people are trying to get rid of Trent. I think he's still a hold, though. I'm holding him at least until the Southampton game in game week 12. I think after that, potentially you can try and move him on. They've got a Man City and Newcastle the next 2 game weeks after that. So potentially you could get rid of him. But look, I'd probably keep him for now. He's probably likely to get you some points at some point in the near future. Calvert-Lewin, definite sell. He's been an absolute flop. I can't believe anyone, and including myself, recommended him back in, I can't remember when it was, like game week 3, I'm going to hazard a guess. Well, like, oh no, they're going an amazing run of fixtures. I think it was game week 4 after the Aston Villa game. I'm like, yes, hop on. He's done nothing. He has not got any points since that Aston Villa game. What an absolute flop. That's just unlucky. I can see why people are jumping off Lewis. Obviously, Walker's back. Akanji's back. There's going to be some rotation there, and you think that Lewis, being the youngest, is probably the first man out. So make up what you want. He doesn't cost a fortune. He's still a nice route into City's defence, but if he's not starting, it's going to be a problem. Jamie Vardy, I can understand. There's so many better options at that particular price point. And Leicester aren't a sure thing, and Vardy's not going to get you more than a goal a game at the max. Gabriel, obviously, Arsenal's defence has just been a bit porous. I'm surprised he's still on here, but because of the game week 12, the fixtures really do turn, and I think Gabriel becomes a very valid option again. Same with Raya. Raya's staying in my team. I'm not sure if he'll survive the wild card purge, but potentially he might. Again, Smith Rowe, I'm not surprised people are selling him. There's just so many good options, and lots of people are trying to upgrade their midfield to that 3 premium strategy, or getting a Palmer, a Saka, and a Salah. So I can understand why people are doing that. You've got to sacrifice one of those better midfielders like that because everyone else is using the forefinders and Burmo. So I don't know. I can understand why that's happening. Again, Delap, a lot of people probably just swapping him to Strand last, and I think that's a good move. I'm surprised Cole Palmer's on here. Lots of people obviously forget that the amazing run's happening. Either that or they think that yellow flag actually means he's a chance of missing. He's 0 chance of missing. It's just like Morgan Rogers, 0 chance of missing there as well. They were just little knocks. They'll be fine and they'll recover perfectly fine. They'll be right for the weekend. I'm surprised people are selling Saka, but one person that is on this list that I'll be selling on wildcard is James Justin. I'm not sure why he didn't start on against Ipswich in the last game week, but that's not acceptable. Those are the games I need him starting, and for me, he's definitely has to go off the back of that non-selection in that game week. Phil Foden, I just don't know why people bought him in the first place, to be honest. There's been nothing to suggest that Phil Foden is in good form, and Pep Roulette is a real thing, and I just think that Phil Foden, you need to see more from him before you can dive into that particular transfer. Saliba, I think he's going to be a buy. Like, I was actually weighing up whether I buy Saliba or Gabriel in game week 12 wildcard. And Raul Jimenez, I'm surprised that people are selling him, but look, they haven't played their game yet, so we'll just be interested to see what happens there. Look, that's all I'm going to cover in today's one. I'm not going into the second page of any of these. Lots of things there to think about. There are some people in the selling category that I'm not sure why they're being sold, so I just be query that. And also Aina and the Nottingham Forest assets, I'm not sure if they're buyers. So just be wary of that. The fixture runs are very important. You need to target them when you are making your decisions on your transfers. Hopefully you found that helpful. If you have, please like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you tomorrow for my team selection. I can tell you, Dominic Solanke is currently captain. Thanks for watching. The D Unit out.